I reckon you're good to go.
Oh, hey, Shell.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am so great. Thank you so much for asking.
Oh, that's good. Um, Look, we had a bit of a chat yesterday, and we were really getting into some really deep stuff. And we kind of thought that we needed to share this kind of stuff that we're going through with everybody else. And we've decided to call this little segment that we're recording for you guys, Taking the Big Leap. It's called Trust, Control, and Confidence. And it's all about the things that you go through when you start to do really big things, whether it's like in your business or your personal life, or you really try and push those limits of, doing the new stuff, doing the scary stuff, and then, you know, hoping that you're not going to fail, hoping you won't make like a dick of yourself or all of those things. So I guess today is just like a really cool conversation about the challenges that you and I have both had, and I guess our history, our our journey together, you might call it, over the last couple of years, about to how we've gotten to this point. And I think this is really, really, really important to everybody else out there that's probably looking at us like you and I, and that are going like, oh my God, these girls have made it. Like they've both got their own businesses, they're both thriving and doing really, really big things, not realizing that like when you're doing these really big things, it's super scary. Like for an example, like filming this right now, I've never done one of these videos. I've never shown up in this way. And so right now I'm scared. I'm just like, oh, am I going to say something wrong? Am I going to do it wrong? So, again, another new thing for us. But I guess what we might start to do is just introduce ourselves and to everybody else out there that's listening so that they can understand who we are and what we do. And, then we'll get into like the nitty gritty stuff. So I'm happy if you want to begin to tell everybody how we met and where we're at.
Oh, I'd absolutely love to. I have had the pleasure of knowing beautiful Mara for it's almost 2 years. Can you believe that?
Right?
Absolutely. So Marta and I connected as coaching buddies at the Beautiful You Coaching Academy when we began our coaching journey. And we were placed as buddies. And when Marta is absolutely named feeling fear and feeling uncomfortable. Do you remember our first call together?
Oh my God. Oh yes. Oh yeah, I do. All too well. Yeah, that.
Yeah. So when we name fear and choosing courage and confidence, if only we could shower ourselves with that love from 2 years ago to where we're both sitting right now, it's absolutely such a beautiful synchronicity for what we're going to be diving into today. So it's been almost 2 years, and yeah, not only did I meet you in the academy, but we have watched each other and supported each other and become beautiful friends, both inside our coaching businesses, yet also outside that. So it's one of those beautiful things in life that I'm deeply, deeply grateful for.
Oh, likewise, Shell. Like, and like we've both started like Shell was just saying before, like our first call together, we were both shitting ourselves, and there was so much fear around what we were doing about taking this big leap into our new paths that we thought that we wanted, and trying new things and speaking and trying to coach each other and all of the things. And then there was like all of these layers of starting our own business. So we've both come quite far. And I guess for people in the outside world, Shell, like people think that we're just like killing it, like, and which is so great. But I think, behind all of this stuff that we're just like we're getting, and the things that we're doing and we're producing, there's a lot of fear around, you know, being able to trust yourself and being and having the confidence just to be able to move forward. So I mean, you as a coach in your business, I've seen you do a lot of uh, Facebook Lives and a lot of groups very early on in your business. And I always used to look at you and I was like, man, how does this girl get this speaking experience? And I'm just like, that's nothing I could ever do for myself. And, you know, one of my biggest fears is actually public speaking. Hello, here I am. Um, so, you know, it's everything's relevant. But when I used to look at you, especially so early on, it was just so amazing to see you. And so I guess tell everybody where you're at right now with your coaching.
Yeah, thank you so much for your gorgeous words. And I want to mirror all of that back because we know that our souls are so perfectly us on that deep level, but our ego and our mind, don't we like to compare and we like to judge and all of those things that take us away from what we're doing. So whilst I thank you for all of those beautiful words, let's also name it different backgrounds, different journeys. And
Yeah.
look at you now.
Yeah, look, I agree. Look, I've recently moved to a motorhome. For people that don't know my story, I've lived a corporate career for the past 12 years. I was in the same job. I was doing the same thing. And about 2 years ago, when Shell and I met, I decided that I wanted to go down the path of being a life coach. And that has kind of evolved. And I've gotten to the point now where about 2 weeks ago, I had decided to pack in the career, the corporate career, the one that earned like the big bucks. And I bought a motorhome and I've decided to move to Airlie Beach to pursue my dream, to live the life, you know, be all in, you know, and hope to God it works out. So I think from this, from the outside perspective of where people are looking at me right now, they're just like, man, that girl's got the life. And I'm just like, and I think I remember you saying to me the other day, you're like, man, you're like, your posts, they're so aligned, like you've got this. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, I know that people are like looking at me thinking I have this life, but I'm shitting myself because I'm just like, what if this fails? Like, these are the real things that go through my head. It's just like, am I good enough to do this? Where are the clients going to come from? It's like, when am I going to run out of money? It's just like, you know, am I a fraud? Am I actually this person that I say that I am? All of these real fears do come up. And I guess when you're looking at anybody from the outside, like the fishbowl, you can easily think that it comes really naturally to them. But to be quite honest, it's a challenge. And yes, there is certainly some things that come naturally to some people than others. But a lot of the time, everybody's doing something new. Like you and I are constantly like doing something new, you know, putting out a new coaching program or having a new coaching client and then just going, oh, I've never come up with this before. How am I going to deal with that? Or, you know, taking a big leap into another new unknown. And, you know, like for me, it's been, I don't know, do you want me to go into a little bit deeper with like that transition and, you know, that, because I've had a little bit of heartbreak in all of this as well. So that has actually been really difficult for me. So for anybody that doesn't know what I do, I'm actually a love and dating coach. And um, the transition to living in a house, to then deciding that I want to quit my job, move into a motorhome and follow my dream. Sounds amazing, but it's scary. But on top of that, I was actually dating somebody before I left, and I hadn't actually liked anybody for quite a long time. And we ended up breaking it off. And then I had to move here. So I was like, in my head, I was also thinking like, oh my God, like if I hadn't have left, you know, this still would have worked. Like all of the thoughts, because he made me think that. He was just like, no, listen, like you have to go, you have to do your thing. And it just felt like that the only reason we weren't going to see each other was because I was leaving. So it made the whole trip really bittersweet. And it actually made it really difficult to make the move up here, because I was just like saying, I was giving myself like these if onlys, right? So it's just like, oh, if only things are different, if only I did this, if only I wasn't leaving, if only blah blah blah. So I tortured myself for a little bit. Like the move here was actually already hard enough. yet I had this added layer of having to leave somebody that I actually felt quite deeply for, knowing that, or thinking that the only reason it was ending was because I was leaving. So later, and I tortured myself once I came up here, it was really difficult to try and get into like this flow. So whilst everybody out there is thinking like, oh my God, she's living the life, I'm like, oh, I don't like, inside, I'm like, I'm all over the place because there's so many things happening. And this is the thing that people don't see. So yeah, so I did all of the wrong things, and I have to say, like, my emotional mind took over from my logical mind, and I did things that I would normally teach my clients to do the opposite of. So like, do as I say, not as I do. It's just like, you know, when your emotional mind kicks into something like this, it's very difficult for your logical mind to come back in because, you know, it's emotional. It's, you know, you're dealing with your heart. So it's taken a little bit for me to kind of recover from all of that. And, you know, I'm trying to do my best to move forward and, you know, to build my coaching business. And, you know, we'll talk about like the techniques and stuff that we both do use. But I think, you know, these are the real struggles that people don't see that we face. So I think if anybody is out there and they're watching this, it's like, you know, there's no great time. There's never going to be a perfect time to start anything. So if you're thinking that, you know, you want to start your business, or you want to follow that dream, or you want to do any of the things that you want to do, it's just like it's a long road. It is this got to be this long road. But if that's something that you want to do, it's like there's got to be sacrifice, and it can be super difficult. But that's just been my journey. Like, I still see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I just see this really beautiful life. But I think everything's really challenging. And, you know, I've been really hard on myself, thinking, you know, maybe I'm not good enough to do this, or maybe it's all gonna, what if it all falls apart tomorrow? Like, what if the dream is not going to be real? And I think sometimes when people do something like this, it's like the fear is so big that they never actually begin. So,
Oh, absolutely. Fear. I love this question. I'm going to ask it, and I think we've probably discussed this. And this comes, I've got a teaching background and education background before moving into coaching. So I do bring that into my experience. But my favorite question, or one of, is, what is the one fear humans are born with?
oh, is there a right answer for this?
There's one answer.
Fear of failure.
No, good one.
Is it? I don't know.
There is one fear our beautiful little beings and our beautiful souls are born with, and that is the fear of falling. So when babies are born, they grip. And every fear that lays outside the fear of falling is a learnt behavior.
No way.
How big is that?
That's massive.
Mm.
Oh, we never discussed this yesterday.
No, we didn't. So I threw that in there now. But what I love that, and I speak about this with my clients, and I remember being blown away. I think I learned that about 2 years ago, or maybe 18 months ago. And I was like, come on. Like, I really wanted to fight it because I myself have so many fears and mirror so many what you've shared. Fear of being seen, you know, wholly, solely, truly, as my little weirdo self, being fear of failure. Like, what if this all doesn't work? And I too, I have the beautiful gift of being a beautiful mum on bed of a 2.5-year-old. And I went on maternity leave and restudied and had every intention of going back to my job, but I didn't. And I jumped. Yeah. But when we talk about fear, like, name it. Like, I quit my corporate job. I dove into my business. I had like a 1-year-old. So when you talk about like, what am I doing? Is this going to work? Where are the clients coming from? Am I going to make any money? That is so real. But what I love is I recognize that as fear. And knowing that we are only born with that one fear of falling helps my logical mind understand, okay. And it's not always easy to do this, but it's that understanding of going, okay, I'm feeling this fear because I believe something, because I've taken something on as true, as a story. And I never dismiss stories because they are real. Like, they're so real in our head. And because they're real in our head, they're real in our hearts. And whatever is real in our beautiful heart moves us into our action. So what we were discussing yesterday is, fear of being seen. And I love that you agreed to do this. We're sitting here so brave. We made this decision yesterday. And this is what we encourage our clients to do. And it's my deepest belief that if you feel fear, it matters to you.
Oh, 125%. Like, you couldn't have said it any better. And I think there's got to be a level also of wanting that thing too. So you've got to start to get excited about what it is that you want, and then you've got to feel the fear, because that's actually the magic too. So you've got to want it 51%, and then the fear needs to be 49%. And if you can get to that point, and it might kind of tip to one point or another, and you can kind of get discouraged, but if you can kind of get that ratio, because if you can, that's usually, you can only really get that feeling if it's something that you actually really want, not people telling you that that's what you should want, that that's how you should live your life, because you're never going to get that ratio of fear versus excitement. And if you're totally aligned with what it is that you want to do, like, and if you've got that feeling, and if you've got that fear, you're onto a good thing. That's what it is.
Absolutely. Desire is what you need, because desire is also linked to energy. So if you don't have the desire, you're not going to have the energy to do it. And if you don't have that energy, you're going to let the fear engulf the desire and then go, nah, too hard. But I think what's also really beautiful and important to name here, one of our favorite words is paradigm. And
for the people that don't know what paradigm is, because sometimes we can speak in like coaching terms, if you want to just explain to people that are listening out there what a paradigm is.
I would love to share it. I try to share things as simply as possible, because I think it's really important to have an understanding of what you're actually dealing with. Because when we talk about mind, what do you think?
Control.
Yeah, people think mind, they often say it's in my head. And I can absolutely put my hand up and saying, I was never taught how to utilize my mind and use my mindset for me. So, and now obviously being in the work that we're in, we know that 95% is mindset and 5% is strategy. So it doesn't matter how good your tools are, if you can't align with your mindset, you're actually not going to get anywhere. And we always say this with love. But coming back to a paradigm is a collection of thoughts, feelings, habits, and behaviors that you move into automatically. So this means without thought. And one of my favorite ones I always invite my clients to think about is when you get out of the shower, pay attention to how you dry yourself. Guaranteed, you are going to do it the same way.
Yeah, it's that mindfulness, isn't it? Like, how many times have you driven in your car somewhere? Like, it's the same, like from your house to the shopping center, and you don't even remember driving. Like, that's that unconscious like flight mode that you end up being in.
Yeah, and I like to explain it like a CD. And I love that our audience would know what a CD is, because sometimes I'm like, oh, you don't even know what a CD is. That's great.
The millennials are going to understand this.
But I like to explain it like a CD. Your paradigm's like a CD. And that means that once that CD is written, so your thoughts, your feelings, your habits, and your behaviors, and what you've just shared, driving the car, perfect one. That paradigm sits and spins in the CD player. Round and round and round. It goes without conscious thought. So it's going to dictate 96% of your behavior. So when we're having things that pop up with fears. I'm not good enough. I'm not successful enough. I don't look XYZ. All of those things have come from an external that at one time you've taken on as true, and you've written into your CD that's spinning round and round and round and round.
Mm.
And a couple of statistics about mindset, because I didn't really do an introduction very, very quickly.
You haven't.
No, that's absolutely fine. My name is Michelle, and I have the absolute blessing in this life to be a joy and vibrancy coach. And I am all about helping individuals come home to who they are. So I'm talking about soul level stuff.
Mm.
And my 3 tools that I share with my clients are attitude, gratitude, and magic. And mindset is firstly very heavily infused with your attitude and the gratitude, because we have between 60,000 and 80,000 thoughts every single day.
Mm.
Staggering amount. And 96% of these thoughts are repetitive because they're sitting on those CDs and they're sitting on those paradigms.
Mm.
And 90% are negative.
Mm.
There goes my son. So when we speak about mindset being imperative, this is what we're talking about.
Mm.
Because if we're not updating that mindset and that self-image, we can't outrun it because it's playing off that CD.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know that, and we've spoken about this previously as well. Like, I guess there's a lot of coaches out there that coach what they actually need most. So, for me, I know that I guess love and dating has always, I've always felt like it's eluded me up to a certain point. And, you know, I'll discuss my situation that I've gone through a little bit later into a little bit more detail and how I've overcome it. But like, Shell, tell me, what are the things that come up for you that you actually teach your clients? Like, what goes through your head? Because I know that, you know, we always have these fears, and you know, what goes on with you as well on like a day-to-day basis. Sometimes you may feel like, you know, you don't want to trust certain things when you tell when all you do is tell your clients to trust, you know, and then or you teach confidence, but yet sometimes there'll be a moment where you'll be like, oh fuck, I'm not confident, I can't do this, I have so many self-doubts. So like, just let us into your little life a little bit more, and you know, what goes on for you.
Well, this depends what day it is. My honest, absolute truth. But what I guess I'll speak into the experience of what I've been having lately. And I've had a really big fear of success in my business, because I have had my beautiful son, who I will need to get in a moment because he's just woken up. I have had a very interesting health journey. Without needing to dive into that, I was told I'd never have a baby, and to be gifted my incredible son, it's you know, it's my absolute dream come true. I know in my soul on a level that I am put on this earth to be Franklin's mummy, and it brings me so much joy. But it also doesn't bring me any income. So I have been balancing up, you know, naming it for what it is in the last couple of months, is this balance of how do I show up as a very conscious parent, as a very present parent with my son and supporting my household, but also growing my business. And the fears in my business align with fear of saying the wrong thing, fear of being judged, because I'm on the journey of showing up unapologetically as me, because I'm teaching what I live and I live what I teach. And if I'm teaching, you know, you are the most perfect version of you, I have to believe that about myself. And it's coming up against those paradigms, because sometimes it's really easy to consciously believe it and say it, like, I'm the most beautiful version of me. But these paradigms with our beliefs and the habits that are so locked into place, they don't always align. And I picked up on one really deeply a couple of weeks ago, where I was able, because of the inner work, because I was doing some journaling and because I was working with a coach and I was actually working on it, I remembered a story from when I was 11 years old. My mum told my sister, don't worry about her. She'll amount to nothing. And I remember having a full body response. I absolutely knew, like, oh my goodness, because remember, subconscious, it's sitting there often without us knowing. I was like, oh my gosh, because our paradigm always wants to be right. So my paradigm had taken on that truth of she's not going to amount to anything. And it was feeding into the behavior of going, okay, well, my paradigm must be right. So I'm not going to turn up. I'm not going to be seen fully, wholly, solely as I am, because I then don't want to be that person that amounts to something, if that makes sense. And it happens in really interesting ways. It can be as simple as not sending a client an invoice with the self.
Yes. Okay, that's really good self-awareness.
And that's what working with a coach really is, isn't it? It's gaining the awareness of where you are and what's going on for you so you can move forward. Because name it for what it is, nothing changes if nothing changes. And we speak with love, and I know you enough that I can speak on your behalf here. We speak with love. We speak as guides, and we speak as mentors. We never, ever judge, because it's not about the past and it's not about the hurdles. We want to help you where you are, unpack yourself, unpack the paradigms so you can move forward. But what you and I've just shared is also, because we are beautifully human, we're in this with you.
Yeah. Look, I think if anybody feels it anymore, it's probably us, because we're probably the ones that need the coaching the most and have had the most coaching on this stuff, because we're the people that have needed it, right? So, we understand where it shows up, where we understand where different things show up for our clients, and we're able to maneuver, to help them maneuver to be in a better place in their life, and to get to know themselves a little bit more. So that's a very deep confession, I guess, but I think this is the kind of stuff that people want to know, because I think sometimes there's a little bit of, and I'm going to mention it again, there's a little bit of fear of actually telling the world what it is that you're actually going through, because you don't want to be judged. You don't want then to people think that you're not strong enough as a person or whatever to be doing what you're doing, or whatever, because all of a sudden you're vulnerable, like you've all of a sudden shared your stuff, and then you're like, oh, what are people actually going to think? Like right now I'm thinking, is anybody actually going to watch this video? Like, are they going to watch this and go, why did they bother? Like, why did they bother even doing this? So I think there's a lot of stuff around that as well.
And one thing I'd love to speak into really quickly is, I can honestly say I have never felt more confident. I have never felt more self-love. I have never felt more joy in my life. But that's the person you're seeing right now. 10 years ago, well, actually, it's, oh my goodness, it's even 12 years ago, I was lying in a hospital bed, not knowing if I was going to make my 20th birthday.
Yeah.
Within 12 months, I lost all my hair and gained 20 kilos. My boyfriend decided he wanted out. So hand on my heart, whilst you can see Marta and I having this beautiful conversation now, being incredibly brave, this wasn't our starting point either.
No, you're right, Shell. And I think for anybody out there listening, and they're just like, I want to do the thing, but I'm really shit. I don't like, I'm going to be doing the thing, but I'm so shit at doing the thing. It's just like, just do one thing today to try and do it.
Hi, my darling. I'm just getting little Frankie. You had a little nap in the car, didn't you, darling? Um, one of my favorite quotes is, "You are one decision away from a
Mm,
totally different life."
yeah, I think you're totally right, Shell. And I'll just quickly touch on my experience lately with my love life, because it's now non-existent. But like I I think for me there was a lot of things that came up when this person didn't want me. I later found out that it wasn't because I was leaving that it ended. He was just telling me that. So that actually really hurt once I found out, and I found out that he moved on like super quick, and that really killed me. And I was like what's actually coming up for me? It's just like, is it the fear of like being alone, or not being good enough? It's just like, why am I not good enough to be like a part of somebody else's life? And then I'm just like, all of these questions are really for me to answer.
Mm.
So when I coach my clients, I get that, like, there's the number one reason people don't want to date and don't want to do any of this stuff is because they've been heartbroken, they've been cheated on, they've been rejected, like all of the things. And I'm just like, I get it, I felt it, and I just felt like shit. And you know like, I have all of the tools. It's crazy, I have all of the tools, I teach all the tools, and yet, like, I was just not myself when I needed to be really strong for myself, and I couldn't apply the tools and I couldn't do the stuff. I'm like, fuck, like, why? Obviously there's some learning things around there, but this is when we as coaches are actually real people, because we feel all the things, like we've already experienced all of this stuff. We've felt the crap and we've dealt with it, and we can teach you to deal with the crap too. But just as we're like human, we also take a couple of steps back. There's always going to be this little thing in our head that kind of sits in the back of our subconscious that will trigger us, that can trigger us. And then we will take those two, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps back. And that's normal too. So, I think it's really brave that you're sharing so much of your stuff here, and how, like, you deal with it, and and that you actually still keep going. So I've had so many people tell me recently, they're just like, I'm so proud of you. You're like, you're doing the best thing. You're doing all this thing. And but the fear like kind of takes over. And I'm just like, oh God, I'm actually, I don't see it. I don't see how wonderful I'm doing right now. I feel like I'm crazy for doing this, but I think we tend to be really harsh on ourselves, just like anybody else doing anything new, anything that they haven't done before. We tend to judge ourselves too quickly and to be too hard on ourselves. And, we don't give ourselves the time and the space to kind of grow, because change, especially when you're doing stuff on the inner work, when you're doing work on yourself, when you're doing any of that stuff. And my love and dating stuff is exactly the same. Like, at the end of the day, it's about finding a partner, but the foundation of the stuff that we're talking about is actually in here. It's all in here. So that's the stuff that kind of needs to be fixed. And we can definitely help our clients. And this is a process. It's like you add on layers to different things. You do one thing, and then you're like, okay, now I've got to do the next brave thing. So it's like, a new level, new devil. So you conquer the thing that, like, you thought that you couldn't conquer, and then you up level. So then you go to the next thing, and you're just like, oh, there's the next challenge. So it's like, it never gets easier. I'm really selling you going for your life dream right now, aren't I? But it's just, this is the reality of it. And we face it every day. As wonderful as our life looks, we're facing the challenges, and we encourage anybody else that's watching this just to give it a go, to start being bad at the stuff that they want to do. I think they said that for you to become a professional or good at a skill or something that you do, you have to do it 1,000 times or something crazy.
I thought it was 10,000. Mastery is 10,000, I believe.
Yeah, it's 10,000.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you've just got to keep going, and it can be really, you can really easily like talk yourself out of it after you get it wrong and you fuck up a few times. You're just like, you know what? I don't think it's meant for me. And you lose that trust in yourself, and you're just like, it should have happened quicker, or it should have already been like this, and it's not. And then you try and control. So when you're taking that big leap into whatever it is that you're doing, you've got this plan in your head, and it's just like, well, it's got to go like this. I've controlled it, and it has to go like this, and it never does. It's like, you just got to keep going. And it's just like, keep making the mistakes. That's where you learn. That's where you do all of that's the meaty stuff. By fucking up, it's the best thing that you could possibly do, as long as you're not hurting anybody else in the process. You know what I mean? Like, it can be really brave, and to trust yourself when you go in there. You can feel like you're naked on stage, I guess is probably the best way that I can describe it, is because like you're sitting there and all the eyes are on you, especially if you're showing up in your business and you're doing any like Instagram lives, or you're doing any posts, and you're just like, I remember you saying this to me, it's just like, I don't even know if I'm reaching the right people. I don't even know whether anybody's listening. I don't even know whether anybody wants to listen to what I'm saying. And it's just like, this is such a natural thing, and if you're listening, it's natural. If they're the things that actually are coming up for you, it's totally fine. You've just got to keep going. And I think that's, this is why we made this video, would you say, like, to allow this audience that we're listening to, that's listening to us. See, that's a fudge up, and I'll be like, damn, I wish I didn't say that.
But we're going to be brave and keep it in here.
I want to keep going. Like we do this, and we've done this video especially because these are the fears that have come up for us time and time again. And we didn't get here by starting yesterday. We did it by doing little bits at a time, by slowly learning and growing from the things that we've been told, like from doing that inner work, from sucking at a lot of stuff that we started doing. And I'll just go back a little bit, when you and I first started to coach each other. So we both wanted to become life coaches, but the thought of doing a session one-on-one with a client scared the crap out of us. And we were like, I don't think we can
remember the scripts?
Hey, I want that cake, but I'm not willing to pay for it or make it. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, I want the thing, but I don't want to do the stuff. And you've just got to go do the stuff. And if you feel like then you can't do it, if you really do get paralyzed, and I know that sometimes I get paralyzed with stuff, find a mentor, find somebody that will be able to support you. Like, this is what we do. We support people, we coach people to become a better version of themselves. For me, it's to improve people's love lives. For you, is to find more joy and inner connection, and find that magic and gratitude within life. And so if somebody is looking for that support in that certain area, reach out to a coach that knows their stuff. Reach out to your friends, reach out to your family. And I have to say that sometimes your friends and your family will not give you the right advice. They'll just tell you what you want to hear, right?
Yeah. And something you and I were talking about yesterday, which is I believe in synchronicities. I'm a very spiritual person, but I won't project that onto everyone in this conversation. But what I would love to share, coaches have coaches.
Hands down, coaches have coaches.
And I love that, because for myself, and what I know both within myself and what you and I've been discussing, fears, mindset, paradigms, being a beautiful human in this ever-changing physical world, is to grow, we need the tools. And I love exactly what you just shared as well. We often need somebody who can love us and guide us through it, that's not emotionally involved in our life. because whilst I love my family, love them, yeah, they're not equipped to problem solve and help me get out of my heart and my head where the growth is uncomfortable, where the fear wants to slap me in the face, where I'm lying in the fetal position, not being nourishing with my mindset. They'll be like, you can do it. And whilst it's absolutely the truth, because everything our mind believes is true, I always love being really transparent with my clients, saying, I work with coaches. And I want to really give this little piece of information in case our beautiful people watching this have never worked with a coach or know where to find a coach. First thing I always say, follow your heart. Our heart is our biggest compass, and our heart will always speak first, and then our beautiful mind and paradigm will speak second. So go with your heart. If there is somebody within your Instagram, your Facebook, or friends of friends, go with someone with that pull. The second part, which is always imperative, and the way that I choose my coaches after, am I drawn to them? It's usually the why I'm drawn to them. And it's, have they got the skills and the life that you aspire to? Have they achieved what you're aspiring to? And that's what I think breaks up friends and family for advice and coaches for love, guidance, support, and advice. Because our roles as coaches is always to meet you where you're at and then help you move forward. And our family can always meet us where we're at, but depending on their skill set, they often aren't the people, the mentors to move you forward. Coaches, and I'm going to speak generically before I speak solely for myself, coaches and educators, mentors are usually lifelong learners. And I know you and I can absolutely put our hand up here. We study ourselves every day. Not only in the awareness, which Marta and I have been so brave in sharing our truth and our hurdles and our fears, but we also do the theoretical stuff behind it, where we constantly update our mindset, our knowledge, and what different things go on in the field of our work. So I think I just wanted to throw that in to give the difference of why you can love your family, cherish your family. But also I love this question too. And I'll throw this here, and I think it aligns perfectly with family, because you are the sum of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. So family, will fall into that quite often. If you've tried it your way and it's not working, why not try ours?
Totally.
Mm.
There's no point flogging a dead horse, right? It's just like if you're going to keep doing the same thing and getting the same results, it's like, why not do something different? Why not do something to challenge your mind? And even approaching a coach, I think for a lot of people would be also daunting. They'd be like, oh, I don't know, am I just going to pay them for them to like pretend to like support me? It's just like, well, it's actually no, not like that. It's not like that at all. I remember when I first heard about coaching, I'm just like, do they actually believe in me? And it's just like, yeah, we believe in every single one of our clients. Like, because I wish I had somebody to believe in me when, when I needed to start dating again. It's just like, it's that friend support that you're going to get without that emotional attachment, and we do have that. You're right, we have this experience, and we have all of the layers that we need to be able to coach you through anything. And it's for everybody to gain some confidence, to take that big leap into whatever it is that they want to achieve. And like, even for us, we're human. we I, if anything, we're more human than most people, because we know all the stuff, and other coaches out there as well. It's just like they're passionate about all of this, and they will wholly solely support you if you choose them to work with them. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be fully supported. And sometimes that's what people need to be able to get started. Some people aren't self starters either. I know that sometimes if if I have like a paradigm against something, I will do everything not to do it. And it's just like, you know, you need to do it, Shell. Like, I mean, I know that you were talking to me about like your vision board that you just like touched for like a year and a half, and until somebody like made you, your coach made you do it.
Yeah.
Just like, but then once you get over the hurdle of just doing it, like even like this video right now, like this is such a big hurdle, and I actually can't believe that we've decided to do this, and we're like, oh, let's just wing it. You know, once you do it, you get that confidence into doing the next thing, and that's what it's all about. So oh, it's just beautiful to grow and to do new things and to expand and, you know, lead a really rich life, if only for you. You know what I mean? Because, you know, you don't want to get to a point where you're 60 or 70 and you're just like, you have all this regret and you're just like, oh, I just wish I did the thing. Like for me, it was leaving my corporate job after 12 years. I was like, if I don't do it now, I'll get 10 years down the track and I'm probably going to regret not doing it. And that's not what I want for myself. I know that that's not what I want for my clients when I coach them to find love. I'm just like, you know, start to be a little bit vulnerable, you know, open up your heart a little bit. And it's just like I opened up my heart a little bit and it just got run over by a semi-trailer, let me tell you that. But, you know, but we're alive and we're living. And this is how you support all of your clients too. You want them to expand and you want them to really, to live a really rich life and to love themselves.
Mm. Well, you shared earlier what your number one for your beautiful clients is the fear of being hurt. It's why a lot of people just back themselves out of the dating game. And again, they've built a paradigm, haven't they? They've built a belief and it's stuck on that beautiful,
right? Because when it happens a couple of times, it's just like it's like that mouse maze, you know, like you follow the food, and it's just like if there's a certain path to get to the food, then you know where to get the food. It just becomes that conditioning in your brain. And when you've been hurt so many times, it's just like, oh, if I start to date again, this is going to happen. I'm going to get hurt and I'm going to be back to where I was. I might as well not do it.
And if you do that, remember, that's what you're thinking. So what we think we create. So if you've already gone down a route of that narrative of this is the outcome, hate to break it to you, baby, it's going to come back.
Yeah.
And I want to share a couple of resources here because I love sharing resources that are so readily available. Oh. And I love sharing people who have more information than I do because I never say that I'm here knowing it all. So most of us have Netflix. 2 beautiful Netflix documentaries, I guess they are, that I always share with my clients. The first one is the movie The Secret. Yeah. Name it for what it is. A little bit dry. It's not a Hollywood, you know, blockbuster suck you in, but it explains the law of attraction and the law of vibration. And it's one of the most fundamental. Hello, my darling. Oh, you've got a big truck. That's amazing. It's one of the most fundamental. He wants the Play-Doh that the computers are sitting under. There you go, darling.
Never work with children.
Yeah. Hello. Well, real life. One moment, darling. The law of vibration and attraction. So coming back to what you think you create. And I'd love to invite you to start there if you're curious. And then the second point, the second resource that I absolutely love is Brene Brown's.
Yeah.
Is it Dare to Lead? Yeah. And that, again, she speaks about exactly what you and I've just done here. To be courageous, you have to have the vulnerability. And to be vulnerable, you have to be courageous. And they are so entwined. Because if you're looking at this conversation and you're listening to this conversation and you're wondering how we got here, courageous, brave, updating our mindset, updating our self-image, and choosing that big leap, which comes with faith.
Totally.
And it comes from dissolving the control, because the control is a program. And we have been controlled, particularly as women. We have been programmed and conditioned to live a certain life. And I'll speak from my experience. My life path that was patriarchal, which means kind of the old way where men go to work, women stay at home. I'm right, you're wrong. so my kind of expectation in life was graduate high school, go to university, get a job, find a husband, buy a house, stay in that job for 40 years because there's financial security, retire and die. Fair?
Yep, spot on.
My life journey. Went to high school, started university, got an incurable cancer diagnosis at 19. Went back to university because it was the safe thing to do. It was the only known thing to do. Finished my university degree against many, many odds. Went into the education field of teaching. I knew in my heart of hearts, I enjoyed it. I loved the kids. I loved the teaching, but my soul knew that there was something else. So I quit, much to the absolute dismay of quite a few people in my life. Remember when Marta and I are talking about family and friends for advice? Be brave and reach out. I then followed my husband over to Melbourne and we lived there for a couple of years. Again, very similar to what you've just done. No idea what I was doing, what it would look like, career, nothing for me was outlined. But I followed my heart. And it always works out.
And that's the thing.
Yep. And then it's continued a few more years. I went into the not-for-profit. I got my dream job, which I was sharing about, working at canteens, supporting young people living with cancer. And then what life offered or put in that place was then a miscarry of my babe that I was told would never be. And I tell you what, I had the house, I had the husband, I had the dream job. And when that life moment smacked me in the face, I was brave enough to say I was miserable on the inside because I didn't know who I was, because I hadn't been living aligned with my soul and with my truest desires. I started working with coaches at that stage. I then got the beautiful gift, which is my darling, beautiful son. And again, continued to follow that heart space because I had the tool to move from the control into the trust, because I had the support to call myself out on the bullshit narratives and move into the self-image and the manifestation of what I wanted. And like we've shared, the journey brought us here through the coaching academy and into, almost 2 years later. And one of my favorite quotes by Steve Jobs is, "You can never join the dots moving forward. You can only join the dots when you go backwards." And he shared that quote when he was building the iPhone. So if you think of the world, if you can remember it before the iPhone was invented, nothing like that was even possible. Nothing like that existed on the market. You can only join the dots looking backwards.
Yeah.
You have to have the faith. You have to let the control go, because everything you believe is true. So if you're setting up these really, I was going to go with restrictive, I'm just going to say it without judgment. If you've got these restrictive, narratives and goals that, pigeonhole yourself, you're almost setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
Because life's going to happen and you're going to happen and you're going to grow and things are going to want it. Like, you're beautifully human, which means things are allowed to change.
Yeah, and I think it's so true, Shell. Like, I think we just need to give ourselves, and anybody out there that's thinking about possibly doing the thing, we actually need to give ourselves the permission to do it. A lot of the time we don't give ourselves the permission because it's just like we can't, and the universe can't work its magic unless you work with it too. So you've got to persevere. Like, what's your dream? I bet there's somebody out there listening to this right now. They're just like, I've always wanted to do this, and it's just like, okay, if they're listening right now, it's just like, what is the one thing that you could do towards it to make it happen? Just one thing today. and just do the next thing tomorrow. And I think, you know, if you start to follow the stuff that's in here slowly, what's going to happen is that, yes, you are definitely going to be able to look backwards and you're going to be able to see those dots that you've joined, but you're just going to be like, wow, look how much I've already done. But it starts with you. It starts with you putting that action in place. It starts with you wanting the thing. So if you guys are listening out there, and if this brings you a little bit of confidence to go take this big leap into this thing that you're doing, or to start to get you thinking into the mindset of, oh, this is actually possible. Let me tell you that it is completely possible. As crazy as it is, I'm living in a motorhome in Airlie Beach. 2 weeks ago, I had a very high paying corporate career. I mean, you can do whatever you want to, and just got to be able to trust yourself and start to get some tools. Like, there are so many tools on the internet right now that anybody can have access to. You can join either myself or Shell's Instagram accounts. Like, we're posting all the time if that's the stuff that you guys need. There are things available online. You just have to do some Googling, like Brene Brown, like Gary V, like, you know, if you're looking to heal a certain part of you, like, start to Google that, start to do some research, start to dig in a little bit, just to kind of get you thinking differently. Even if you're still not ready to work with a coach, or you're still not ready to do the thing, these are the things that you have access to every single day, whereas 20 years ago we didn't have any of this stuff. So if you're so, like, we are all so lucky right now to have all of these free resources available literally at our fingertips 24 hours a day. So that, I think that's the really big thing out of taking the big leap. Like, we're both, you know, I think we're both human. We're both so human. And, you know, I don't want anybody out there to put us on a pedestal. Like, we don't want to be put on a pedestal. We are just people following our hearts, and we only want to encourage you to do exactly the same thing. And this is why.
And what I'd love to add is, not only are we following our hearts, is we're updating our mindset. So our mindset aligns with the self-image of the human we want to become, because that's how things start moving. Because yes, like we've already shared, Einstein's quote of definition is, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So apologies, my goodness, life. That's part of it. It's the hardest pill I ever had to swallow was the bam smack in my face of, I'm the person that has to take ownership for my life. And it like, I still fight it. I still can be like, come on. And it's why we spoke about really earlier, comparison. It is so easy for our ego to look at someone's life and say, well, they've got the house and they've got the money and they've got this. Well, I'm going to call it for what it is. It's bullshit. They've got a different mindset to what you have. And that is as simple as it is, but it's also as complicated as that is, because you cannot outrun your current self-image. So because of those paradigms, unless you're changing that paradigm that's going around and around, you're going to get the same results. And like Marta has shared, there is so much information out there. Start getting curious. I absolutely believe in the process of, you know, finding out who you are and finding out what you enjoy also includes finding out what you don't like.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And, you know, like, it's so funny that you say that, because it's just like, some people out there, they're like, oh, but I just don't know what. I'm just like, start doing it.
Try something.
Yeah, just go do the thing, and then you realize you don't like it, so you just eliminate that out of your life. And I think that's another step back as well. So I mean, there's lots there. So I love this. Taking the big leap. If you're thinking about taking the big leap, start to get curious. And, you know, there's plenty of support out there, including people like Michelle and I, depending on what it is that you want to do, to be able to support you in the thing that you want to do, the thing that you want to achieve. And there's also other coaches out there. So I think, should we kind of wrap it up?
Yes, I've got my little munchkin that's running around me. And whilst I love him and he's incredible, having a very clear train of thought and 100% engagement
I love
That's
it.
also my thing, naming it for what it is. And yeah, I think our conversation has been so juicy. I can't wait to watch this back because there's been so much in here. But I want to celebrate you as well. I want to celebrate you for taking this leap, because this happened from a conversation that you and I were having socially with each other yesterday. And it mirrors, I think, everything what we've spoken about.
Totally.
Getting out of your comfort zone, taking action from something that you're like, oh, maybe we should do this, because I believe your soul's perfect. So when you have an idea, it was meant for you.
Right. And
Take an action.
the thing, and sometimes you just got to act on it really quickly. If you have an idea, don't just act on it.
Yep, because
otherwise your mind will talk yourself out of it, and then you'll think of all the reasons why you shouldn't do it. And this is why I wanted to do it so quickly, because my mind does this too. And so for anybody listening out there, like, this is really big for both of us to be able to show up in this way, to be raw and to be authentic, and to really show up as ourselves and tell you exactly what shows up in us as well. And so I hope that all of you are able to take something away. Just what, even if it's just one person, take away one thing by watching this. And my job, and Shell has done her job. So all of you just keep being amazing.
yeah, absolutely. We are here to help you live. Marta is here to help you heal the dating wounds and invite love in and actually enjoy the journey rather than being absolutely terrified of it. And I'm here to help you live and coming into that heart space, because my lived experience with what I've gone through is, when you follow your heart, incredible things happen. And when you align heart and mindset with your clients, oh, darlings, you are unstoppable.
I love it. I love it, Shell. Thank you so much for joining me on this too. Thank you for being so brave to show up and for sharing everything that you've shared today, because I mean, this wouldn't happen without you. So, and thank you for doing the new thing with me. So
It's been a pleasure. I feel like we should absolutely do this again. I love chatting.
I love it. All right. Thank you everybody for joining us.
Thank you.
Trust, control, and confidence. I hope you all enjoyed it. Bye.
Mwah.